Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to what is the second round of this 13th season of the Midwest F1 League. It's Division 2 on tap for you today. We're at the Hungaroring, 25 miles northeast of Budapest, in a town called Magyarod for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Hotspot back up with you on the call once again here in Division 2. Very glad to be back. Unfortunately, I missed last week in Monaco, but let me tell you something. I had a good time on my road trip, and I am back. Can't wait for this Division 2 action here today. And while we have a minute, let's take you through the schedule we have at hand. It's Hungary this week. We go to Spa next time out. We go to Portimao for round number 4, Australia round 5, Austria round 6, Zandvoort round 7, Monza round 8, Miami round 9, Azerbaijan round 10, Singapore 11, 12 Brazil, 13th Canada, 14th is Japan. And rounding out the season, on October 17th, we head to Circuit of the Americas for the final round. It should be a fantastic season this, and well, what a place to be. The Hungaroring, one of the oldest circuits on schedule. Again, very old style track this, very tight, very narrow, not a lot of places to overtake, but goodness me is it's fun. And when you get into that rhythm, of being on good pace and not making any mistakes, it is a very fun track to drive, and I'm sure our drivers are going to give it everything they have tonight. JST has retired from the session. Oh, by the way, JST, welcome back. I haven't seen that name in literal years, man. It is so good to see him back. All that I once knew as familiar in this league is not here anymore, but JST is, and that's pretty good. But for whatever reason, he has retired from the session early. So our first driver out on track is going to be A-Dub in his Alpine. While we have a minute here, why don't we go through? According to Brian Mosser, potential rain in qualifying but dry race. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. While we have a minute here, let's go over our Drivers and Constructors Championship after round 1 of Monaco. It was, oh god, that's his actual name, Twinkie Cream. Twinkie is first place, Knuckles second, A-Dub third, Dusty 4th, Electric Blade 5th, Nogedator 6th. The pair of the Red Bulls, Slayerized and Gab 7th and 8th. 9th is Adel Tony and 10th is Israel. As far as the constructors are concerned, it is that of Alpine 1st, Red Bull 2nd, Mercedes in 3rd, Aston Martin 4th, Haas the 5th, the Saubers in 6th, Williams 7th, 8th is McLaren, 9th is Ferrari. Rounding out the grid, P10 is that of the V-Car. But it is going to be A-Dub in the Alpine, our first driver out on track. He's making his way through what is this 14th corner, this final corner of the circuit. It's a little tricky, this one, because you don't have a lot of runoff room on the outside. We do sometimes see drivers invalidate. It's not always, but it does happen. Down the pit straight into the Valtteri Bottas bowling alley, as it's often referred to, at least when I'm on the call, of Turn 1. Turn 1 fairly easy enough as you exit Turn 2, down the hill, heading towards, sorry, not even Turn 2, this is Turn 2 here. DRS was activated into the downhill corner of Turn 2 that kind of falls away from you as you go through Turn 3. Then, up the hill in towards Turn 4. If you ask me, the hardest corner on this circuit, one of the hardest on the calendar, really. Through Turn 5, don't touch that curb on the inside, your car will be sent to spin, and into the worst chicane in Formula 1, if you ask me. Ranks up there with the Barcelona chicane, with the Neuville chicane at Monaco. Definitely things that should not be there, if you ask me, through Turns 8 and 9. Here's Turn 10, and then this right-hander of Turn 11. This is one that we sometimes see drivers get caught out by. Not a lot of runoff room on the exit. If you make a mistake and you go a little bit too hot into that corner, you will hit that wall. It does happen. Gab is already retired from the session. What he's done there, that's going up the hill through in towards Turn 4. If we can see Twinkie Cream get on with it here. Yeah, I think what he's done, he's just kind of lost the car over here somewhere in the grass and he's hit the barriers. That would, absolutely be my guess. A-Dub's gone 1:15.558. That's a pretty good lap. I don't know that we'll see much better than that. Damn Sam has gone 1:15.909. That's a halfway decent lap. 3.5 tenths off the pace behind him. Better than I could do, that's for sure. Knuckles has gone third, 8.5 tenths of a second. Next up, we've actually got the pair of the Aston Martins. It's Chief Brains who's already invalidated. But behind him, we've got the other Aston Martin of Dusty Lusky. And a good-looking tow here for the two Aston Martins. Up to third is Dusty Lusky, 1:16.360. Gets about 3/100ths past Knuckles. Josh Sr. has gone that fifth spot, about 9 tenths of a second back. Coming around the final corner now is Twinkie Cream, about to start one. Oh, the professionalism being tested now, because I can't help but laugh at that. Anyways, Down the pit straight goes Twinkie. He's actually, I believe, beginning one now. He must be. He's 2 seconds off the pace here. Down into the first corner goes Twinkie. It's a very tight first corner, this. And again, that track limits on the outside really does creep up on you. If you do, and it's also pretty easy to start getting oversteer coming off that corner. I mean, it's a difficult one. There's not an easy track on the circuit, really. That's up the hill now through turn 4. Let's see how he does. He's taken curve on the outside, gone way across the apex on the inside. He's actually handled it quite well, it has to be said. Looking a good lap so far here. Into the 6 and 7 chicane. A little bit of lockup on the way in, but he's taken it cleanly nonetheless. He's used a lot of the curb on the exit. Sometimes you can kind of ride the gutter and the curb and get away with it, and it doesn't hinder your lap time as much. I think it's scrubbed off a little bit of speed there. But through turn 11 now down the backstretch here, heading in towards turn 12. Fairly straightforward right-handed 90-degree corner. In through turn 13 now. Sometimes you can get 2 lines of racing through there. It's not always. And then the final corner, turn 14. Don't usually see mistakes here, but the mistake that will be made is that if you try to get on the throttle too early. Twinkie's gone 1:14.832. That is ridiculous. That's one of the quickest laps, probably the quickest lap I've ever seen of this circuit. And I've been casting this Midwest F1 League since Season 2. Matter of fact, that was the first season of Division 2. Slayerized, in the meantime, has gone 5th. We got one of the McLarens coming up next. I believe it is Brian Mosser into the pit lane. Yes, it is. Behind him is the Haas of Andrew Mason, who has yet to begin one. He's into the pits as well. Noganator on an outlap currently. Still yet to perform a timed lap is Chief Braids, Noganator, and Andrew Mason. JST and Gab have met the ends of the session. JST retired before we can even begin, and Gab, I think, crashed on his outlap. That was going up the hill, heading in towards turn 4. Noganator appears to be on a timed lap now, as he makes his way through the chicane. Noganator, remember, a couple of seasons ago was fighting for the Division 2 championship. But this is interesting. This is our first season that we're having on F124. Sometimes it does just appear to be new drivers taking place and, you know, really getting to grips with the new games quicker. I think it was Noganator back in the early days of, or the late days of 22, where he really started to step into the spotlight, and maybe he just didn't handle 23 as well. It's a real thing, you know. He's up to 11th. It's a real thing, you know, the skill in between games and whoever is quickest to adapt to the new game usually is a huge factor. I mean, that's when we saw Race Day 2016 win his title, because he got into F122 and he became one of the, you know, best drivers on that game. You know, I mean, I played the game well in F121. I thought that was my best game. You know, I was consistently getting, you know, top 10 finishes in Division 3. I had a string of 3 podiums in a row in Division 4. But then we got to F122 and I couldn't drive the damn thing. I was so bad at driving that car, and I still haven't really, you know, regrouped to the point of actually being comfortable. I think since F123, I think I finished 5th in a race before, like once out of 11 guys, and I think I won an F2 race, and that's about it. Dusty Lusky beginning one now. A-Dub is making his way through Sector 3 here in a moment, but Dusty Lusky is the next driver to start a time lap. We've got even 10 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Down the hill heading towards Turn 2. DRS activated for the Aston Martin in question. Bit of a lockup on the way in. Nothing really to complain about there. Through Turn 3. Now, usually, sometimes you'd be able to see drivers really take more than that going across Turn 3. You'd really see them, you know, go fully across that corner. Maybe if we go along with Twinkie here, you'll see what I'm talking about. On the inside of Turn 3, you used to really have to swing wide to the left and then go clean across that corner. Not really anymore. We don't see many drivers do that. Dusty, I think, has been in the grass at some point, perhaps exiting the chicane, because there's a little bit on his screen just then. So maybe this lap is not going to be as good as we thought it was. He is still quicker, however, by 3.5 tenths of a second, so I could be wrong. I do have the ability to be wrong from time to time. Right now might be one of them. In through Turn 13 he goes, still doing quite well. He's got clear track ahead of him, minus that of the V-carb of Knuckles, who's not in his immediate surrounding. Coming through the final corner now. Yeah, looks pretty good. DRS activated for Dusty, and up to second. 1:15.308, improves by over a second that lap. That's a fantastic attempt from the Aston Martin, and at least to get in the same ballpark as Twinkie is definitely a good look there. A-Dub seems to have at least invalidated that attempt somewhere along the line. That attempt is no longer for him. Knuckles making his way through Sector 1 for the time being, although I don't believe this is going to be a actual lap from him. No, it's not. It's slower by 0.6. Next up around the line, we do have, well, it is that of A-Dub, who it appears is going to be staying out on track and going for another one here. So A-Dub in the Alpine. Beginning another timed lap now. Down the pit straight he goes, heading in towards turn 1. Let's see how he takes this. A little bit wider than we've been seeing some drivers take it, but instead of, taking it sharper to the corner and then going out wider on track limits, he's actually just kind of carried it in one full swoop then. That's how that first corner actually used to be. It's similar to how turn 14 is. It used to be a similar, kind of almost NASCAR-style corner that, oval track style. 0.2 of a second quicker through Sector 1. That's looking pretty good for A-Dub for the time being. Up the hill out of turn 5, in towards the 6 and 7 chicane now. He's actually gone in there a little bit slower than we've seen, but instead of trying to carry speed on the way out, he's actually not even touched the curb. He really took it carefully through that second sector. Through turn 11 now, he's desperately running out of fuel here. I'm not actually too sure he'll be able to make it to the end of the lap. 0.4 of a second quicker through Sector 2. This is looking a very solid attempt for him if he can get back to the line. We've got 7 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. A-Dub through the penultimate corner now. Once again, clear track ahead of him. Twinkie, I think, is actually either beginning or coming to an end of one of his laps now, and I think he is beginning one. But A-Dub coming across the line now, and it will be 1:14.964, improves by 0.6 of a second, and it's a 1/10.5 behind Twinkie, who is now beginning his lap. And as we were talking about with Brian Mosser earlier on, there was a threat of rain in the area. Those clouds are starting to get quite gray, aren't they? It doesn't look like it's going to have the ability to rain just yet. Not until you start to see those shadows disappear from the trees is where it really begins to say, okay, we're in a position where it's going to start raining. Not the case. The Twinkie making his way through the 6 and 7 chicane now. See, now he and A-Dub have taken that completely differently. He's braked a lot later and has still managed to take it halfway decently through that section of the track. Let's look at a very good attempt. As he's making his way through turn 11 now, very quick right-hander. Doesn't hardly use any of the exit. He has improved in Sector 2 by a 1/10.5. 6 minutes and 15 seconds remain now. Through turn 13, he's going to go a lot lower to the inside than we've been seeing some drivers take it. Out of the final corner he goes. DRS activated and across the line, 1:14.551. He's improved by 0.3 of a second. Very good lap then from Twinkie, who really puts himself even further ahead of the field that we did see. And, momentarily ago, we were talking about the shadows that were, on track that we could see. There's no shadows anymore. This is fully overcast, and I tell you what, the rain could be very well on its way. A-Dub is out of the way here, but I think next up around the line is that of the McLaren of Brian Mosser. We're getting what very well could be his final attempt here if the rain does begin to start falling. We've got 5.5 minutes remaining of the session. You got to get going now, especially if that rain starts to happen. Bit of a back-end slide. Coming out of turn number 1, but down the hill towards turn 2. Let's see how he takes it. Doesn't use any of the curb on the way in. Cuts it really close down to the inside without touching that gray curb, similar to that of turn 5. If you hit that, you will go spinning. It's very unforgiving. Up the hill through turn 4. He's improved by a 1/10.5. He still needs a lot of work to do here to get himself even into the top 5. Out of turn 5 he goes, heading in towards the 6 and 7 chicane. He'll brake relatively early again. Oh, but he's taking too much of the curb on the way in. And, well, he's kept it together, but that is not going to help his time unless he's, made that similar mistake last go round. Yeah, he does appear to be struggling, Brian. I don't suppose this is going to be a lap to look out for him here. Yeah, slower by 3.5 of a second. I'm afraid that's really going to do it for him. The question is now, Josh Sr., going to be coming through the final stages of the lap now, actually about to begin one. Only behind Brian Mosser by less than 3/100ths of a second. Positions 4 through 10 separated by less than 0.9 of a second. So a really close gap there in the midfield. Top 3 separated by 7.5 That's a pretty good look. But so far, Twinkie kind of on his lonesome here. Really the class of the field. But the question is now, Electric Blade through the final corner. Chooses to take a lot more of the exit on the way out. Across the line, improves by 0.3 of a second, stays 5th. Actually, no, he's made his way up to 5th, yeah, because Knuckles was 5th not long ago, so Electric Blade up now to that 5th spot. We've just had the Alpine of the Noganator come through heading down into the first corner. I believe this is going to be the lap to look out for him. Remember, Noganator and Brian Mosser, championship contenders in that battle a couple of seasons ago, and let me tell you, there is no love lost between the two. These guys, fierce rivals on track, and whenever they get together even close to each other, expect some fireworks happening. 3 minutes 25 seconds now. We still have yet to see any rain. A-Dub has retired from the session, so he believes it's on his way. Noganator through Sector 1 is slower by 9 1,000ths of a second. That's not a terrible way to be. As long as he improves here in the second sector, it could still be a very good lap. Throughs to 6 and 7 chicane. That's one of the actually better takings of it that we've seen so far. It looked visibly quicker than that of how A-Dub or Twinkie was taking it, even for that matter. Nicely done from Noganator, but let's see as he makes his way out of turn 11. Yeah, is quicker by 3.5 tenths of a second. That's a good improvement from him. Still don't think he's going to be able to leapfrog that of Frenchie to get to that 11th spot. But it's not a terrible place to be. Exiting 13 now, heading for turn 14. Let's see, he's going to play it really way down to the inside. Still no sight of the potential rain on the way, and we're not going to get any in the race session. We know that. Noganator has improved by an even 6 tenths of a second, but still 2.5 tenths behind that of Frenchie for the 11th spot. Coming around the line now, I believe... Oh, who's that? Sorry, Slayer Eyes has actually lost the car coming out of the final corner. I believe he was about to start a timed lap there. He's actually gone a little bit too quickly, spun the car around. Thankfully, it doesn't appear that he's really hit anything. But either way, not good for him. Got Ambu Mason coming out of the final corner now, and across the line for him, up to 7th, 1:15.879, improves by 3.5 tenths of a second. The Mercedes of Twinkie behind him is now beginning one. Well, I thought so. Doesn't really appear that he is. He's not using his energy store. Perhaps is he just kind of riding around here? We'll say that Haas is a little too close to comfort, too close for comfort in front of him to really think about starting one. Next around the line, we've got the McLaren, I believe, of Damn Sam, who has just completed a lap there, and I think he is slower. He stayed in that 4th spot, 90 seconds remaining in the session, but Sam has not improved that final attempt. And I think now we're just waiting for this final round of timed laps coming through. Slayer Eyes is looking like he's trying to get one going here rather quickly. Minute 15 remain now, and Slayer Eyes is not waiting to join the queue as the two other drivers behind him, including that of Noganator, and I think it was Chief Braids. No, it wasn't Chief Braids, but Noganator definitely one of them, and the other Aston Martin of Dusty Lusky. It will be Slayer Eyes beginning one here. The first of the final timed attempts on the way. Twinkie Cream, I believe, is actually making his way through turn 13 now. He looks to have saved up that final attempt and is now going to be beginning his final attempt. Slayer Eyes down across the line and into the first corner. 45 seconds remaining now. Into the first corner goes Slayer Eyes. Yeah, looks pretty halfway decent on exit. Nothing really to complain about, but we'll go along with Twinkie. This is the lap we're going to want to watch here. Goes through the first corner, already on provisional pole by 4 tenths of a second, and with 30 seconds remaining, it doesn't really appear as if there's going to be anybody willing and close enough to take that spot off of Twinkie Cream. I apologize, I'm putting my fan on. It's about 85 degrees and humid in the attic at the moment. 15 seconds remain now. We're going to get the McLaren of Damn Sam into the pit lane, as well as the Sauber of Frenchie, both saying that their day is done. So only 3 drivers left with timed attempts left to complete. It's Slayer Eyes making his way into the Sector 2 timing line now, going through turn 11. Dusty Lusky is retired from the session. Slayer Eyes is quicker by about 2 tenths through Sector 2. Good looking lap from him so far, but he's still got a couple of more corners to go. And remember, it was exiting turn 14 on his outlap in which he did make the mistake, so hopefully he doesn't do it again. Through turn 14 goes Slayer Eyes. Goes a lot wider that time, and across the line for Slayer Eyes, stays 8th. Actually ends up slower by 2 tenths of a second, but Twinkie Cream exiting the final corner. It is going to be pole position for him, and just as the rain begins, some quite good timing there. Chief Braids on his way into the pit lane, so it's Twinkie Cream on pole, A-Dub 2nd, Dusty 3rd, Damn Sam 4th, Electric Blade 5th, Knuckles 6th, and Boo Mason 7th. Slayer Eyes 8th, Mosser 9th, and 10th, I believe, was Frenchie. Thought I was going to be able to get through all of that. Apparently not. So yeah, as we were on about, Frenchie 10th, Josh Sr. 11th, Noganator 12th, Chief Braids 13th. He's the last of the drivers to actually get a timed attempt on the board. JST and Gab did not get an opportunity. So for the time being, it appears that Twinkie Creams got himself a very fair shot at coming first in that first corner, but will A-Dub get away off the line well enough to challenge him into that first corner? We'll have to wait and see. It certainly looks like that could be the case. So formation lap underway now, but again, it does appear that Brian Moss are now saying that we do have a chance of rain in this race. I don't even know what's happening, to tell you the truth. But I mean, the real question is, I don't know. The thing is when you look at it, when the race tells you that there's rain potentially on the way, you can't necessarily trust it, because again, it is really just a question as, hey, are we actually going to get wet weather running, or is it just going to be a big question mark on the rest of the grid? Because it seems like that's more or less the case. But what I can tell you is this: if the majority of the grid is on the medium tires, that tells me that, you know, either everybody has thought exactly the same, minus that of JST, or potentially, you know, is that rain going to happen? And it's going to happen about where the end of the first stint is for those medium tires, because when you have all but just the one driver on the same compound like this, that tells me it could be in the picture. I don't know. Twinkie is going to be the driver leading the charge into the first corner. A-Dub's going to be to his inside. There you go. Lap 15 to 22 is your pit window for the mediums to the hards, and of course the other way around for hards to mediums. Twinkie, in what was a dominating qualifying performance, does have, in fairness to him, a very quick driver to his immediate right side in A-Dub, one of the fastest drivers I've seen. He is going to line up on that inside. Dusty Lusky right behind him. I think Dusty, if he gets a good enough start, could very well challenge in that first corner as well. And now we're just waiting for Gab to find the grid on that left side. 15 drivers here in Division 2. And it's all down to this. Here we are now. Lights turning on in Hungary for the second round of the season. 4 and eventually 5 lights. And they are off here at the Hungaroring. It does look as if Twinkie's gotten a much better start than that of A-Dub. As they head down the hill into the first corner, it looks as if A-Dub is going to be blocked off by Twinkie. He's going to force A-Dub around the outside. Damn Sam, and that is actually being taken around the outside here by Dusty Lusky. It appears the Haas of Electric Blade wanted him down to the inside as well. Couldn't get it. A-Dub now to the inside of Twinkie Cream into turn 2. It's a massive, massive overtake if he can make it happen. Still to the inside. He's got to be able to clear that Mercedes by the time they get to 3, and he hasn't done it. They're still side by side. Perhaps some contact there, but up the hill through turn 4. And it looks as if Twinkie's done the smart thing, and he's actually kind of backed out of that battle. You wouldn't want to go side by side through turn 4, but the Mercedes now going to try it around the outside. Not going to have it now, but as they go into the 6 and 7 chicane, it all appears to be calmed down for the time being, unless perhaps as there are battles happening behind. It doesn't really appear that there is. If you try to go side by side through that chicane, you're just out of your mind, quite frankly. So A-Dub has taken the lead. It took him to that fourth quarter, but he has taken the lead, but Twinkie's still right there. And remember, they will have DRS. It's not going to be this time by, it will be the next time by, as DRS is activated on lap 2, but because there's only the one activation point now, it doesn't actually tie into going down this pit straight. I don't believe it does, at least. I'd be more surprised if it did. And no, it won't. DRS is activated now, however, they won't get it going down the hill out of turn 2. But on their way into turn 1, it's single file as they make their way in. Twinkie Cream's actually right close to A-Dub here. Good on acceleration. May try to take A-Dub to the inside. No, he's going to try it around the outside. Is not going to commit to it. He's going to try to switch to the left, but is not going to have the acceleration and able enough to get around A-Dub. So A-Dub keeps the lead, now going up the hill through turn 4. And I would definitely expect some track limits penalties to happen there today. But for the time being, everything seems as it should. No drivers have crashed on that opening lap. It was very clean racing all the way around. And now we have Twinkie still breathing down the neck of A-Dub here as they make their way through turns 8, 9, and 10 coming up next, 0.2 of a second, and still closing. If Twinkie gets a good enough run out of 11, he would have had a fair shot at looking at A-Dub, but he didn't do it. Chief Braids is our first driver of the day on the second lap to pick up a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. That, I believe, was exiting turn 9, I would say. I could be wrong. That is slightly odd to have picked up a penalty that early, but that's what's happened. Exiting the final corner on the second lap here. This will be our first taste of DRS. Twinkie is going to definitely be looking at A-Dub here. A-Dub's going to have to pick one way. He's going to defend the middle. That'll force Twinkie to the outside. Twinkie's going to try to switch back to the right side. Electric Blade and Damn Sam now side by side. Fudge in hell, I can't speak English. Twinkie and A-Dub still side by side as they make their way down through 2. Electric Blade has gotten around Damn Sam. Sam I am. Give him a slice of ham because he's lost that one. I'm trying too hard now, aren't I? Electric Blade is taking the spot. Anyways, Knuckles trying to get into this battle as well. As we look at the grid, only really positions moved once or twice. We do have Frenchie down 4 positions, but nothing else really of note except the change for the lead. And I'm wondering what happened to Frenchie off the start there. What I can say is that Sam, that car does look right out of shape. These past couple of corners now, the back end really wants to get away from him here. That car looks as if it's struggling with oversteer. We'll have to keep an eye on that because that car looks a handful for the time being. Through turn 13, A-Dub still leads Twinkie by 3.5 of a second, but as they make their way now through the final corner, I would expect a good run out here from the Mercedes. Down the pit straight they go. A-Dub's going to look to defend the inside. He's not quite going to have the pressure from Twinkie this time. Twinkie is going to try the outside line. A-Dub defends, but not quite. That's actually going to allow Twinkie on the inside, and it's going to be side by side down the hill into turn 2, and it looks as if the Mercedes will clear the Alpine this time. Good look to overtake there. Knuckles and Damn Sam side by side down the hill into turn 2. It's a slightly unorthodox place to make a move, but we did just see it for the battle for the lead. So Knuckles to 5th, Damn Sam down to 6th as well, but Twinkie back to the lead of the Grand Prix and already has 6.5 back to A-Dub. I was going to say, potentially that battle was going to allow Dusty Lusky into the mix here, but that's not what's happened. He's still 9.5, the full second behind the top 2 here. Matter of fact, he's more under pressure from Electric Blade. We've got Noganator and Josh Sr. now. Oh, I think... well, something must have happened with Josh Sr. because Noganator has rather left the scene of the crime and already has 8.5 of a second back to the Ferrari driver. That is odd. Slayerized, I think, was temporarily having a look to the inside of Damn Sam through 12. Not really going to happen, not there. Very, very solemnly do you see a move through turn 12 like that. A-Dub is going to have DRS down the pit straight. But as we begin the 5th lap of the Grand Prix, Twinkie has retaken the lead. As it shows now, Knuckles trying to break that toe all the way down to the inside. Every car along with him follows. Perhaps is there going to be any braking maneuvers into the first corner? It doesn't really appear that there is. But Slayer Eyes did get slightly close to Damn Sam there, but gets a little bit too heavy on the throttle and loses any time that he gained. And it has to be said, other than those first 2 DRS sections, you really just got to look out for errors more than actual overtakes. The only other real place you're going to see it is turn 11, maybe down the hill into 12, but even that one doesn't happen as much. Again, once you get into a good flow on this circuit, it really just does the work for you. But you've got to be continuously hitting your marks. You can't make any errors at all. The errors that you do make will come down to haunt you, that's for sure. Slayer Eyes within a couple of tenths of Damn Sam here. I would expect Sam to potentially have trouble defending Slayer Eyes this time, especially if a good look is made at a turn 14. Let's see, Sam's going to go wide, try to carry more straight line speed exiting the corner. He's got Knuckles in his sights, but he's not close enough. Frenchie has gotten Chief Braids round the outside going through turn 14. Down the pit straight they go. Slayer Eyes is going to have a look. Well, I thought he was going to try to the inside. Sam's actually defended it. It's going to allow Slayer Eyes to the outside. And, well, I thought a switchback was on there. It wasn't. Brian Mosser and now Chief Braids side by side is Frenchie, I think, in this battle as well. 2 by 2 as they make their way exiting the corner. Frenchie's gotten around Chief Braids. Brian Mosser tails Gab down into the corner. Chief Braid's now trying the outside of Frenchie through turn 2. They'll have to sort this one out before turn 3. Chief Braid's looks like he's going to try to keep the inside. No, they're both going to go off, and that's a massive crash. And somehow Frenchie has stayed okay out of that one. He's absolutely lost the front wing, but as soon as I saw them go side by side into 3 like that, nope, that's just not a move you can make. Chief Braids didn't want to back out of it. Frenchie didn't want to back out either. I hate to say it, but that is just a pure racing incident, that. Because as Chief Braids and Frenchie go side by side into that corner, you got to understand that that car on the inside wants to go quicker across the apex of that corner, whereas the car on the outside wants to kind of stay within track limits, so they're going to naturally get into each other like that. I don't know if Chief Braids went in too hot and kind of collected Frenchie, or whether Frenchie kind of cut around in front of him. I don't know. It's tough to tell. I don't really think that Frenchie did anything wrong, nor do I think that about Chief Braids. We'll go ahead and do some Discord investigative work here. And nope, really nothing at the moment. Knuckles has picked up a drive-through penalty for speeding into the safety car. He will not be able to serve that whilst we're under safety car conditions. But we've had a lot of pit stops here. I think probably everybody on the grid. All but Jasty have gone to the hards. Jasty naturally started on those hard tires. He now finds himself on the medium. And while the safety car sorts itself out, I'll step aside. Not going to be too long, though, I don't think, but still. So the safety car back in at the end of this lap. If you've just joined us... Oh, what in the hell? Damn Sam has almost lost the car. He went into the dirt there on the inside of the corner. If you're just joining us, Chief Braids unfortunately got into it with Frenchie and has not been able to find the end of the session. We do have every driver but that of Jasty on the hard tires currently. Jasty started on the hards. He's now currently on the mediums. Knuckles has a drive-through penalty for speeding into the safety car, which he will have to serve here at some point in the immediate future. Twinkie Cream took the lead of the Grand Prix back on lap 5 and has not looked back since. We are back underway as A-Dub already breathing down the neck of Twinkie here, down to the inside. Is he going to be able to have a look at the Mercedes? He can really, I think, try to outbrake him here, and he's done just that, but now he's got to defend. He's got to really park it on the apex, kind of, and he's done just that. He's not allowed Twinkie to really have a look around the outside. Good move from A-Dub, who retakes the lead of the Grand Prix. It's shaping up to be a fun one between those two. This is allowing Dusty Lusky and Electric Blade into the fray here. Two very quick drivers at the head of the table, and also two unbelievably quick drivers behind them. Let me tell you something, you're up here in Division 2, you deserve to be here, you belong to be here. And everybody right now in the top 10, probably, I would say, has an opportunity to win this race. And oh, by the way, Jasty on those medium tires, I wouldn't doubt to see him make some moves now that he's on the faster compound. Through Sector 2 they go now, almost done with Sector 2 as well. It's a relatively short lap this, but either way. A-Dub will lead them out of Turn 11 and down the hill, down the backstretch. Twinkie Cream behind him by 5.5 tenths of a second. Dusty Lusky slightly under pressure more from Electric Blade than he's pressuring the two cars ahead of him. That might come into play. Still potentially some rain in the future. That's what Brian Mosser pinged me at. Initially it said no rain, but then it said rain, so who the hell knows what's going to happen. What I know is this. Twinkie Cream is going to have a good look down this pit straight here. No DRS enabled. They'll have it next time by, of course, as just the one activation point, and when DRS is not activated, the activation point zone, detection zone, does not come into play. So Twinkie will have to wait for next time round to be able to get a look at A-Dub down the pit straight. We'll have to wait and see how this one plays out. I would argue, realistically, these two cars very even on the rest of the circuit. I think down the pit straight, the advantage may go to that of Twinkie Cream, but I could be wrong. Again, we saw A-Dub with the toe going down the pit straight. He must have gotten a good jump after the safety car, you know. Twinkie Cream, we've only seen him make the one forward pass. That was with DRS. So, I don't know. Maybe these guys are just as pure even as it's going to get. Who knows? Turn on the lap data. Perhaps that'll be telling. See, going through turn 13 now, it is really even between the two. There's the detection point right there. So that will allow Twinkie to have DRS. Oh, A-Dub, that's a big slide. And I think that is really going to open the door for Twinkie here. It's going to have to. DRS activated for the Mercedes. He's going to check way down to the inside. He's going to switch back to the outside. He tries to sell him the dummy into the first corner, but A-Dub doesn't fall for it. But to the switch back to the inside goes Twinkie. And I think A-Dub, realistically, has actually gotten better acceleration around the outside. He's going to have to force Twinkie around the outside here, going down the hill through turn 2. Well, A-Dub, I tell you what, has held on by the skin of his teeth. That one was very close to being detrimental for the Alpine, who nearly lost the car coming out of the final corner. Somehow was able to keep it, and still does. But again, another little bit of a slide coming on acceleration at a 5 then. Another slide going over the curb, but I think that was more just taking too much curb that time through 6 and 7 than anything else. Oh, that time Twinkie got unsettled. I think Slayer Eyes has gone round. Yes, he has. That car out of shape, going to the back end of the grid. Track will stay green otherwise then through that section of Sector 2. Question is now, will Twinkie be able to attack this time with DRS once again heading down the pit straight? He's going to check way to the inside of the circuit. A-Dub, I think, would actually carry more straight line speed on the way out. He'll check to the inside, trying to break the toe. Twinkie's still within that slipstream range. On the way into the corner, yeah, it would have had to have been a severe dive effort to the inside, even if he did have a slight look just then. A-Dub has held him off for now, but I think A-Dub again is going to try to defend the inside. Twinkie's going to have to go the long way around. Not going to do it, and A-Dub defending well, parks it on the apex going through 2, and still doesn't allow Twinkie the way past. And now going up the hill through 4. Oh, I tell you what, that would have been gutsy if it did happen. I think really what we're seeing here now, I'll be fair with you, this is the first time I've ever seen Twinkie in a race before. But what I will say is this, he seems a very talented driver, and A-Dub much of the same, and he's testing Twinkie for the time being. Very much keeping him on his toes, having to make him think. And when you make a driver behind, you have to think. It goes one of 2 ways. It means they'll make the overtake or they'll make a mistake. Which way does that end up? When you're within close proximity of a driver like this around you, it does become a test of endurance as well, because you keep having to find a way round the driver ahead of you, and if you're not focused, it will have you make a mistake. But here they go. A-Dub is once again going to try to defend the inside. He's going to try to break the toe as much as he can. Twinkie is going to try to send it for the inside here. Is he going to be able to have it? A-Dub's going to go around the outside. He's favored that part of the corner all day long. Will still get better acceleration coming out of the first corner, and will once again have to send Twinkie the long way around. Well, I tell you what, A-Dub defending like a lion here. That's the only way to say it. He's done very well, but I think Josh Sr.'s gone around. Yes, he has, and he's lost the front wing. That could be a virtual safety car. Here he is, safely getting himself back on track. Oh, God almighty! Anyways. Well, as it turns out, he's actually not really lost all that much front wing. I thought, well, he has. I mean, he's broken quite a lot of it, but I thought it was much worse. So, question is this, though. We talk about Twinkie having to think to get around A-Dub. That could force him into mistakes. When you are the driver ahead and you keep having to consistently judge yourself on how well you're hitting these marks, how well you're taking the line around the circuit, knowing that you've got the driver that close behind you, if you're spending more time looking into that rearview mirror than out in front of you, you're going to make a mistake. That's the bottom line. And I'm thinking that could be what happens to A-Dub if he does lose the lead of this Grand Prix. He's going to make a mistake, he's going to think too much, and then he's going to get himself into trouble. But for the time being, he's trying to break the toe as much as he can. He'll try to float to the outside. Twinkie's going to have to go the long way around again. Now, this is where A-Dub thrives, is what actually was on that outside line, and Twinkie now has that position. A-Dub almost goes into the grass, and there goes the Mercedes. Now, that is exactly what I was talking about. A-Dub was oh, well, look at this. Twinkie's gone off the track, and now A-Dub may have another look here, and he does. Well, just as I was about to talk about A-Dub making a mistake after having to try to think to get past Twinkie, he went and defended the outside of the corner rather than the inside. Sorry, vice versa. He defended the inside rather than the outside. This Alpine has thrived with acceleration going around the outside of corners, and he allowed Twinkie to take that left-hand lane. That was going to allow Twinkie better acceleration around the outside through turn 1. Down the hill into 2 is the preferred line on the inside. And that's why it actually lost position, but Twinkie, having to go wide there exiting 2, gets into the grass and allows A-Dub the position back. And somehow the Alpine has once again ended up in the lead of this Grand Prix. Not only that, it has allowed Dusty and Electric Blade back into the fray here. We've got a 4-car train for the lead of this Grand Prix. A-Dub once again leads the train down into the first corner. Twinkie this time is going to have to go to the inside. Now this is where A-Dub thrives here. If he goes way to the outside, he'll have enough acceleration, I think, and he's going to hold that inside line all the way down to the hill. Well, actually, that's not the case. It doesn't appear that Twinkie's going to make that much of an effort. Okay. So A-Dub that time realizes that Twinkie's not going to try it in a 2 and is actually able to take the corner normally. Just the one driver so far in the 3-second penalty. It's that of the Noganator. Brian Moss are trying to get in position on this as well. Oh, by the way, if you're joining us again, if you know anything about Brian Moss or a Noganator, fireworks usually happen when you find these two. It's almost a guarantee. It's a lot like the 4th of July. You know fireworks are going to happen, you just don't always know when. That might be the dumbest thing I've ever said single-handedly. Anyways. That looks to be a calm battle for now. Doesn't appear that either of them are in kind of position to take a spot away from each other, although I think Noganator pretty close to Gab here, could make a move with DRS. But A-Dub will lead him out of the final corner, getting closer to halfway through this Grand Prix. Goes way down to the inside. This is the mistake he made last time. If he allows Twinkie that outside line through turn 1, it's going to be detrimental, and this is what he's going to do. He's going to brake as late as he can. God almighty. Dive down to the inside of the first corner, and he's going to have to make Twinkie go the long way around through 2, and then park it on the apex again. It's almost textbook from A-Dub. The question is, though, as now he's defended that line similar, 5-6 times now, will we start to see Twinkie kind of figure out a way around that? Because A-Dub has defended him that same exact way through that first couple of quarters. Probably, 5, 6, 7, 8 times now. So I'm expecting this Mercedes driver in the coming laps here is going to figure something out. Either that or A-Dub's going to get himself into another hole, and he's going to get himself into trouble, and it's going to allow Twinkie the lead of the Grand Prix. Through turn 12 they go, and it's interesting to see that Dusty and Electric Blade really not... I mean, they're in this battle, they have DRS, but they're not really challenging Twinkie for that second spot here. Not nearly as much as Twinkie's up on A-Dub for the time being, but DRS activated once again, the top 4, making their way down the pit straight. Let's see. What does A-Dub decide to do now? He'll choose the outside line, similar again, but Twinkie's got a good run, dives to the inside. A-Dub still trying to hang it around the outside here. I think he'll have good enough acceleration, but Twinkie's going to have DRS again. But still, look at this, A-Dub holding the inside, but Twinkie that time does get him outright into turn 2. Nicely done for the Mercedes. And I think Twinkie didn't even really figure out a way to get A-Dub that time. He just went up and did it. That was a good move. That was as clean and textbook as it gets there. A-Dub tried to have it around the outside, but he didn't have DRS. Enough really of an advantage to warrant it on the outside. I think he would have been better off kind of staying. Maybe trying to break the toe on the way into 2. I mean, I don't know. It's a moot point now. Because now A-Dub's got to find a way to get up to Twinkie here. And already, 8.5 tenths of a second the gap. Oh, and A-Dub's actually slightly lost the car there coming out of turn 14. And A-Dub does not have DRS back to Twinkie. He was not within a second at the detection point, as it appears J-Steve's gone around. Yes, he has. It's exiting turn 13. Yeah, it's unfortunate for him. Those medium tires didn't even really have a lot on them either. I don't believe he's lost any bit of the front wing, so that's good news for him. But he is well cemented at the tail end of this grid now. So now up the hill through 4. Electric Blade trying his best getting within position on Dusty Lusky here. A-Dub still trying his best, teetering in and out of that 1 second margin back to Twinkie. Problem is, I think A-Dub really is the best shot out of this top 4 in getting that lead. I don't think Dusty and Electric Blade have the pace right now. So even if they do get past A-Dub, I don't think they have the pace to get up to Twinkie and be able to make an overtake happen. I think the Mercedes is too quick. Oh, but here we go. I think Twinkie may have made a mistake somewhere, because A-Dub is now within DRS range once again. Okay. Perhaps we see a battle here. Down the pit straight, DRS activated for the Alpine this time. Dusty Lusky and Electric Blade not going to be close enough, obviously, to make something happen this time, but A-Dub will have to go around the outside. Twinkie has decided to block the inside on the way into turn 1. As they exit the corner, A-Dub will have DRS again. We're expecting Twinkie. Oh, he's actually going to try to defend high this time. We didn't expect that. We kind of expected Twinkie to really defend the inside line going to 2. That's not what he did. Looking back on Anbu Mason, trying to get around Damn Sam now as Slayer Eyes and Noganator side by side, going through turn 2. Slayer Eyes on the inside. This is what happened in the Chief Braids and Frenchie incident, and they've gotten through it okay. Actually, good way to overtake for the Noganator there, around the outside through turn 3. Gutsy place to do it, but he's done it. Anbu Mason, 4.5 tenths back to Damn Sam. And Damn Sam has actually surprised me with how far he's fallen back. It's, 7.5 seconds between him and the rest of the top 5. I thought they were all pretty even on pace. I don't know what's going on with Damn Sam to warrant falling this far back. But that's exactly what's happened. Frenchie with a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Gab is actually up 8 spots. Kind of a, I don't want to say silent but deadly, but we have not mentioned his name all too much, and he's up 8 positions. So next time by will be 15 laps to go. And what's been a fast-paced Hungarian Grand Prix so far. A lot of battling amongst this top 4 here. Anbu Mason really into the grass there versus Damn Sam. And is he going to get DRS enough to get the position into turn 2? No, I don't think it is. I think Anbu's taken way too much of the inside the apex of turn 1 to actually be able to get into position to overtake the McLaren. Maybe did he try to dive to the inside and just kind of couldn't back out of it? Yeah, that'd be kind of my guess. Still within 4.5 tenths of a second of the McLaren in question. Good day for the Haas team so far. Despite, now they're both up net 1 position for the time being. Oh, that's a big slide for Electric Blade. Oh, that one was close. That one was dangerously close there for Electric Blade to being a game ender. So, Noganator actually getting around Brian Mosser then. That's through turn 12. Good looking move that. Shame we couldn't quite see it. Because again, you always got to keep your eye on these two. It's just how it is. Actually, that's allowed Slayer Eyes into this battle as well. Slayer Eyes actually going to have a look to the inside of Brian Mosser. And Noganator's going to defend low. Look at this. Slayer Eyes wants it on the inside. That one's going to be dangerous. No, he's backed himself out of it, but Brian Mosser, that's going to allow him around the outside. Who's going to have DRS? It's going to be Brian, side by side, going down the hill into turn 2. Oh, and it's still wheel to wheel. This Brian Mosser's going to lose it on the curb, and no, Mosser goes round. Oh, and, well, Mosser's not going to be happy there, but I'm afraid that's on his own error. Gets way down low onto the curb through 2. He's absolutely lost the car, I think, on his own doing. But what did I say? Fireworks will happen between Mosser and Noganator, and we just had it again. There are simply some times where you just can't quite get around a driver without having something happen. Me and El Majacco used to be like that quite a lot, even through F2 You know, the brief couple of times we raced each other in F1, man, there is sometimes you get those drivers who, you know, you respect a lot, but you can't quite get around them without something happening. That happened with me and Jacko a lot, which is quite a shame because, you know, I didn't got nothing against Jacko, but it just so happened that we crashed into each other a lot. And speaking of crashing, Andrew Mason's out of the Grand Prix, and we got ourselves a virtual safety car. Well, the interesting thing is we were along with, I believe it was Damn Sam, and Anbu really, I think, just done that all on his own. Rough place to have the Grand Prix end for you like that, but only just the virtual safety car, no full for the time being. And I think, well, as far as Damn Twinkie is concerned, that's a good thing. He's got a 3.5 second advantage. Back to A-Dub and Dusty Lusky here, I'm assuming. We're probably going to get back to green flag racing here very shortly. So JC, a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car. Twinkie is in now. He's going to be fitting an additional set of medium tires. Now, we did not expect this. Dusty Lusky actually gets round the outside of Electric Blade into the first corner. That is re-allowed A-Dub the lead of this Grand Prix. Twinkie is exiting the pit lane. He is pit for an additional set of mediums. I don't really know why he's chosen and done that. I thought he had enough pace on the hards as it was. Perhaps was... you know, they pit too early and the hards weren't going to make it the whole time. Again, they did pit on lap, 6 or 7. So that's valid. Let's see, if we look at the tires, yep, 16 laps. I mean, that's sometimes all you're going to get on those hards. Could very well be the case that we're going to see these round of pit stops now, just how it's going to be. That'll give A-Dub the lead of the Grand Prix. Dusty Lusky second, Electric Blade third, and within half a second on Dusty Lusky. So Twinkie Cream now, 2.5 tenths of a second, back to Damn Sam. Oh, Damn Sam's gone well wide, exiting turn, what was that, turn 8. That's going to allow Twinkie that 4th spot. Question is now, do we see any of the top drivers pit here relatively soon? Because if this is a strategical stop from Twinkie, who thinks, you're not going to be able to take the hards the full way, then we're going to be seeing A-Dub, Dusty, and Electric Blade here pit rather shortly, would be my guess. 3 tenths of a second the gap. Dusty Lusky's going to want to have it on A-Dub this time down the hill into turn 2. He's not quite going to have it, I don't think. Still 4 tenths of a second. Slayer Eyes and Noganator side by side. Slayer Eyes going to get round the outside of the Alpine this time. I think kind of the question is now, again, Twinkie Cream, since having pit for those medium tires, already made up 2 seconds over the top 3 here. So yeah, we got to start seeing these hard tire runners pit rather soon. In 2 laps time will be 10 laps to go. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and assume we're going to see them pit here rather shortly. Twinkie already another second. Came out of the pits, was approximately 11.5 seconds behind, now 8.5, less than 8.5. A-Dub stays out, Dusty stays out, Electric Blade also stays out. Perhaps do they think that 8 seconds is too much time to make up in 10, 11 laps? But Twinkie is already making that back up as they enter the first corner. Twinkie is making his way across the line now, and now with the fastest lap. Yeah, that question of pitting really has to start creeping into the minds of the fellas now. Five tenths of a second. Electric Blade back to Dusty Lusky, and I'm assuming, by the looks of it, we've kind of been seeing A-Dub's car have these slight twitches, of oversteer. That car does look slightly a handful, but, he's been pushing a lot, trying to get back to Twinkie Cream and try to get a fair ways around him. That could be the case where A-Dub has just used up his tires more. It's a half a second here between A-Dub and Dusty. Twinkie now under almost 5.5 seconds. The 3 laps ago when he pit, it was 11.5 seconds. He's made up 6 seconds just like that. Down through the first corner they go. 0.4 of a second the gap. Dusty Lusky, does he have a look? Oh, not quite. 10 laps to go now. I think the question is how quick can Twinkie get up to the top 3 here? He's getting so close already. He's certainly within range of him now. He'll actually start to begin looking at the back ends of these cars ahead of him. That's a really promising sign when you see how much ground you're actually making up. Electric Blades had a bit of an error there going through the chicane. And now a 3-second penalty. Half a second now between the top 2. Electric Blade has slightly fallen out of contention on this battle, it has to be said. The question is A-Dub going to be able to hold on to this lead? Because Dusty Lusky closing in quite closely, and Twinkie now almost within 2.5 seconds. Oh, that's a bit of a twitchy braking zone on the way in. Dusty Lusky's going to try to the inside. Contact made. Dusty, has he gone off? No, he's still there on the outside. They're side by side on the way into 2. Dusty's going to try it the long way around. A-Dub, is he going to be able to defend the inside? No, he can't. Dusty Lusky, new race leader. The question is now, is Dusty Lusky going to be able to hold on to this lead? Because Twinkie, oh, by the way, now within DRS range on the 3 drivers ahead of him. You couldn't have said that 3 laps ago. You didn't think it was possible. Oh, it has. He didn't hear no bell. So now we got a 4-way battle for the win of this Grand Prix. Electric Blade on the 3 seconds of penalty. We'll ignore that, considering 3 seconds of penalty is not out of the question for anybody on this track. Two-tenths of a second. Twinkie Cream, does he look to the inside of Electric Blade now? Yes, he does. That's really late into the braking zone, but he's done it quite well out here, I think. Is he going to be able to stay ahead of Electric Blade? Both cars having DRS, but Twinkie Cream will be faster on those medium tires. I tell you what. It's getting to the point now when you really have to start considering the nuclear options for A-Dub and Dusty Lusky, because realistically, you've got probably 3 of the quickest Division 2 drivers around you. And A-Dub, look at this, is actually holding up Twinkie a little bit. That gap between Dusty and A-Dub now outside of 0.9 of a second. Is A-Dub being the martyr here to make sure that Twinkie doesn't get a shot looking for this win? The DRS detection point is coming up out of this corner. It's outside of a second. A-Dub is doing the Lord's work here. Bit of a slide. I don't believe A-Dub's going to have DRS back to Dusty. Twinkie Cream, I don't think is going to have a DRS enough to be able to get himself into that first spot this time by. He's going to at least get down to the inside of A-Dub, and I think A-Dub will get that spot rather easily. But now, oh, Twinkie Cream, no, he's overshot the braking zone. It's going to allow A-Dub back to the inside. Electric Blade poking his head in this battle as well. A-Dub still round the outside. Twinkie still to the inside now. A-Dub has enjoyed the pace on the outside lane all day long. Twinkie nearly lost the car over the curb through 2, similar to how we saw Brian Mosser do it just 10 laps ago. But Twinkie Cream now has second place again. Incredible battling that we've seen. .3 of a second between Twinkie and Dusty Lusky. The question is how hard is Dusty going to be able to defend here? Those old hard tires are not really going to be in position enough to defend against Twinkie. And down to the inside goes the Mercedes for a move that we kind of saw coming. We didn't think it was possible. After having pit for those medium tires, we thought it was too far back. But as it turns out, that was the correct strategical call as Twinkie creamed your leader. The question is he going to have any opportunity, Dusty Lusky, to strike back? I think that Mercedes is good in the straight line, it really is. But is potentially, say, Dusty Lusky better in these slow-speed corners? It doesn't initially appear so. Again, you're on 20-some-odd lap old hard tires now. 23 laps. They got to be getting into the 60s. On tire percentages now. Twinkie, we can expect to start pulling away here. Left 5 laps to go this time by. And for Twinkie, you gotta think, the confidence to be able to come back and pull off this strategical masterclass, really. As they make their way down the hill in towards turn 2. Still nothing really in it between the top 4. I don't really expect us to see many more critical moves here. A-Dub is not able to get the pace down enough to get close to Dusty Lusky. I think if penalties are to be applied, that's really some of the only chances we'll see at positions being changed now, because Twinkie's already got a second over Dusty. A-Dub still 8.5, 9/10 of a second behind. And A-Dub struggles with that car under getting the power down, as we've seen a couple of times. Electric Blade 0.6 of a second behind, but he's got to hope for somebody ahead of him to get a penalty. Yes, the next question is, we've got the 2 Red Bull drivers. Do we see them invert positions? I don't really see any reason to, unless the Slayer Eyes, come up with a penalty. Though it's not going to matter. Out of the final corner, DRS activated once more. Yep, 4 laps to go. Electric Blade down the pit straight, getting closer to A-Dub. He's really not going to have any opportunity this time, has to be said. Unless is there a big mistake by the Alpine here. Now heading down into turn 2. Electric Blade, yep, 0.2 of a second behind, but he's just not going to have the chance. Red Bulls, do we see them invert positions? I don't believe we will. Quite a spread out grid this after all is said and done. 0.2 of a second, 2.5. I think the only hope is for A-Dub to really make a mistake. That forces kind of into a battle to survive a penalty. So now, the question is really, is there any stopping Twinkie? Because realistically, we're in a position where Twinkie has been able, starts on pole by a good margin over A-Dub. Of course, A-Dub took the lead. They battled very well. No doubt about that. But the first time I've ever seen Twinkie drive in Midwest F1 is tonight. Let me tell you something, I'm thoroughly impressed. This guy, of course, he had to work for his win tonight. but he wasn't afraid to take the off strategy. I think he knew, he must have done his homework, knowing that those hard tires were not going to go that long competitively, because he's gone to those mediums, and already 3.5 seconds ahead of Dusty. But I think maybe does it speak more to the sheer skill of Twinkie that he's been able to do it. A-Dub behind has tried his damnedest today. Oh, as we've got the Ferrari of Josh Sr. around. Oh, he's lost the front wing. Hold your breath, ladies and gentlemen. That could be a virtual. No, I don't believe it is. Thankfully, no virtual or full safety car now. We're a bit late on, I know. But, oh, electric blade. Oh, that was risky coming out of turn 10, that. Turn 11, rather. We'll have 2 laps to go at the line this time by. Twinkie Cream's got 2 laps between himself and a win here in Hungary. What's been a fantastic display from him as well. And I think A-Dub's got a couple of more opportunities to get around Dusty Lusky if he so chooses. Josh Sr. pulling it slowly into the pit lane. 0.4 of a second, I think, as A-Dub kind of saved up potentially in these last couple of laps. He's gone wide at a 4 then. Has he saved up? Josh Sr., I think, realizing he's going to make 90%. Or is it 95%, 90%? Either way, I think he's within that threshold. He'll get his points for 13th, as which he was going to finish anyway. So, as they begin the final lap of the Grand Prix, Twinkie will lead them around the final corner. Lap 35 underway. A-Dub, will he have a look at Dusty Lusky this time? He will have DRS. Dusty Lusky in quite the DRS trap at the moment, but he's already and still 0.6 of a second ahead. A-Dub's got to perform a miracle here if he wants that second spot. He knows that Electric Blade behind him won't be a threat with his penalty. He's just got to keep the car within track limits, and he'll have this third place at least. Unless does potentially Dusty Lusky sit on 2 warnings. Could be the case as well. Up through turn 4. The easy opportunities will have been gone now for A-Dub as Electric Blade. That's an additional 3-second penalty, and you can expect his chances for a podium out the window firmly now. But a 4th place finish nonetheless is a good place to be. And A-Dub has made a hash of the chicane then. Dusty Lusky still ahead. 28 laps on these hard tires. Potentially, does a puncture come into play? It could be the case, you never know. But Twinkie making his way through the final 2 corners now. Well, he's absolutely had to work for this one, there's no doubt about that. But he's been able to come from behind, and coming out of the final corner, Twinkie will win the Hungarian Grand Prix. Very fine race for him. Dusty Lusky rounds the corner, will finish 2nd, A-Dub 3rd. Electric Blade takes 4th. Damn Sam under pressure from that of Gab behind. Is he going to have any look into the final corner? Oh, I don't believe he will. Damn Sam appears as if he's going to take that 5th place. Unless there's a mistake made. Nope, nothing to be had. Sam 5th, Gab 6th. The Red Bull of Slayer Eyes 7th. 8th looks to be the Noganator. Although Frenchie to the inside of Brian Mosser. Well, hang on a minute here. Battle on the last lap. Brian Mosser's actually going to get forced wide. Frenchie on 3 seconds of penalty. I don't think it's going to quite matter. Oh. Brian Mosser 10th then. Frenchie looks as if he's going to be able to secure 11th potentially. But hey, be sure to join us next time out when we head to the circuit Spa-Francorchamps for round number 3 of this Division 2 13th season. Hotspot's been a pleasure joining you once again here on the call, and we'll see you next week. But Twinkie Cream, your winner today.